4 historic weeks for Texans quarterback CJ Stroud. 5 epic money quotes. Let's talk about it in the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room.
Historic start for Texans quarterback CJ Stroud, and 5 money quotes that I think have kind of put him in position, and the Texans in position to make a little bit more noise than anticipated. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 Central on Sports Radio 610. Subscribe, like, ride along. Joined by players, coaches throughout the week on the radio program, at every game, in the mix. Number one source for Texans digital content. And right now, Texans content is about CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud is off to a historic start. And we can talk about rookies and what rookies have and haven't done. But the start that he's off to, it's beyond rookies. I don't know anyone in their right mind who saw this coming, but it looks great, and it's exciting, and it's fun to talk about. Could I interest you in a stat? This is a stat that just kind of puts this start in perspective. And again, it's early. I know there's a lot of it's early guys out there. CJ Stroud is the 6th player in NFL history to average 300 passing yards and have no interceptions through his first 4 games of the season. The other ones who have done that: Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes. And again, this isn't a rookie thing. This is a historic, all-time great type of start that he's off to, which is even more remarkable because he doesn't have his starting tackles, and his interior offensive line is beat up. For so long, we've been trained in Houston to not think that you can scheme guys up. And if the offensive line is depleted or if there's injuries, then, hey, you're screwed. It hasn't been the case. They're right now 2-2. They're heading into a stretch in which they're going to play every team in the NFC South. And there's a lot of excitement, and there's a lot of optimism, and there's a lot to like about CJ Stroud, not just on the field, but off the field. I'm a big fan of the press conference game, the podium game. I call myself the podium critic. And there's something I like to call a money quote. And what is a money quote? A money quote is something that has staying power, that you mark and you might revisit later on down the line. And that's when I'm in the lab, when I'm getting ready for a show. A lot of hosts just ask for audio, they play it, and then when you hear it on the air, it's like, man, why did they even play that? Or why are there all these pauses in it? I like to edit it. I like to listen to it. I like to be able to revisit it. And when I hear something significant that we might be able to go back to, I title it Money Quote, which is what I've done with CJ Stroud a couple of times. And as a short time has gone by, I've been able to revisit that and say, damn, not only is he playing impressive on the field, but some of this stuff that he says, there's got to be something to it. And there's got to be like some sort of reaction from his team that leads them to play this way. And I'll start with money quote number 1. This was on the offensive line after the Indianapolis game. And the Indianapolis game was the one where CJ Stroud was banged up, didn't even know if he was going to play. Some people around town said they didn't even want him to play in this game. They didn't want to risk it. Don't play CJ Stroud. Now, we've seen, fortunately, they didn't do that. And Landry Tunsil hasn't played since, and the offensive line has gotten more hurt. So if you wanted to sit him against Indy, you must have wanted him to sit out the next 3 games. And the Texans would just have their tail between their legs and not have gotten off to the start that they've gotten to. So that was absolutely asinine when people were saying that. And CJ Stroud thought so as well. And I don't think it's a coincidence that after this game, where he got sacked 6 times, where CJ Stroud had the hurt shoulder and he was up at the podium, after this game, he had a message to his offensive line. And since then, the offensive line has actually gotten more injured, and CJ Stroud hasn't been sacked since. Not one time. He has not been sacked one time since he said this. And some people wanted CJ Stroud not to even play in this game because Laramie Tunsil, Titus Howard, et cetera, weren't playing. Here is CJ Stroud, money quote number 1 on the offensive line after the Indianapolis game.
I'll be all right. I'm gonna keep getting up. I'll be okay. It's my first time getting a hit, so I'm gonna just keep harping on those guys, man. Just go hard, because I'm gonna go hard for them. So I appreciate them just hanging in there with me and fighting their tails off, because I felt that it wasn't like they were just giving up. But it's not. I got to get the ball out if that's the case, and make better reads. So it's a two-way street.
Haven't given up a sack yet. Haven't given up a sack since. I think that's relevant. We see NFL players all the time throwing their teammates under the bus. CJ Stroud didn't do it. He got the crap beat out of him. Some people didn't even want him to play. He went out there and played. He kept playing. The offensive line got more and more depleted. He just kept playing better and better. So money quote number one, talking about the offensive line after Indy. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans daily digital content, talking about CJ Stroud money quotes. Be sure to subscribe, right along, best Texans coverage in the country. CJ Stroud put in a lot of work to get on the field after the Indianapolis game and after the Jacksonville game. And there's a lot of Texans players who probably are nicked up a little bit. And there are some players that maybe wouldn't want to play. Hell, we saw Deshaun Watson this week. He was medically cleared. What did Deshaun Watson do? He decided not to play. Business decision, I guess. CJ Stroud was on the field. Rookie. Has a lot more going on. But CJ Stroud are a lot more ahead of him and really a lot less pressure. He puts pressure on himself, which he says is a privilege, which we'll hear later on in these money quotes. But here's CJ Stroud talking about why he worked so hard to get on the field. This is money quote number two.
Those people sitting right back there. My family, I think where I come from, just the odds of being, and I don't have no pity for myself. I don't feel bad. I don't want anybody to feel bad for me, but the odds of being sacked against me since I've been a kid. God has put a special plan in my life, and I think that he's not done with me yet. And I have a lot more, not even just football, but a lot more life to live, to give to people. I think giving my thought, that's why I sit here and explain things so detailed to y'all, because I think it means something. You know what I mean? Of course, coming from a place like Ohio State, Coach Day, he was hard on me, really hard on me, and I appreciated it. I didn't like it at first, but as it kept going and I kept fighting every day, and sometimes we fight against what he was saying. I learned the hard way, but at the end of the day, now I'm kind of seeing what he was implying. CJ, do this, do that. I would go the other way, and I would get myself in a turmoil, and then start listening to great people that you entrust. You know what I mean? And I trust my family. I trust my coaches, and I think people are depending on me, and I love that responsibility. He was just talking, man. Pressure is a privilege. A lot of people don't get to live the life I do. It's hard. Don't get me wrong, it's hard, but it's a privilege, man. I'm blessed enough to wake up every day and to walk, to talk, to smell, to interact with people, to play football. These are all things we take for granted from day-to-day basis, but I try to do my best to thank God through all that, because His grace and His mercy and He laid His life on the cross for us, man. I really believe that. You know what I mean? So this is bigger than this ball, and if I have to use football for my purpose to spread the gospel and the life of Jesus Christ, and I'll do that. And I think that's what God wants. But at the same time, I want to win too. So I'm just that's why. That's why I keep fighting, man. I'm gonna keep fighting my tail off, man.
And that's where you get a situation where, the coaching staff's trying to, keep it cool and, not name him the starter, but you have teammates saying this is our starting quarterback and voting him captain. That's where that happens. That's money quote number two. And that's how you rally the guys together. Two of your longest tenured guys and two of the most important guys, not just to the team, but really to CJ Stroud's success. The tackles, they're out. And he has the confidence to go out there and rally the troops, even though he doesn't have the two best weapons or two of the most important expensive resources that you can have on this squad. He's still saying all this stuff. And not only is he saying it, we've heard a lot of people say stuff. He's backing it up with his play. Heading into the Pittsburgh game, you thought it was going to even get worse. The Texans had just won the game in Jacksonville. They got even more bad news. Their second string left tackle was going to be out, which means Austin Deculus, and I got to give Austin Deculus some credit, splitting it with Christian the other day and being a part of not allowing a sack. Deculus got to start at left tackle, and despite all this, despite the fact that there was talk about, how many sacks is TJ Watt going to get, CJ Stroud said this when he went to the podium on Wednesday, and you can tell the Texans, they kind of responded to this because they ended up not just beating the Steelers, they beat down the Steelers 30-6. Here's money quote number three from CJ Stroud, the rally cry heading into the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers before the Texans ended that 644 game drought, not once, but twice.
We ain't laying down for nobody. And I respect everybody. If you made it to the NFL, let's respect. Everybody is really good at their job. That's why we in the NFL. But you don't tuck your tail for nobody, and you play with a confidence. But at the same time, you stay humble. Definitely, that's my MO, staying humble. But having that swagger, that confidence of a killer mindset while staying humble and don't get me wrong, we're not perfect. And the other team watches film, they know that. But we all know we're going to play hard for each other. And that's all it takes, man, to get a dub. Just as important is to respect the other team, it's just as important to respect yourself. We're going to try to prove that every week and go out and play really hard.
And they did. And they got the dub. And that's why they're sitting at 2-2. And after the game, I think Texans fans can relate to this. I think sports fans can relate to this. First time in 644 days you've been able to walk out that stadium, not just with the win, but with 2 wins in a row and feeling pretty good about yourself. And CJ Stroud, he wasn't here for that drought, but he dang sure feels it, and he dang sure feels what the fans are saying. And this was money quote number 4. And this is going to be one that lives on for a long, long time. A lot of these are just going to live on throughout the season. Some of them might have long shelf lives. This one's going to live on for a long, long time. This is CJ Stroud's message after the Texans beat the Steelers.
I want to say, man, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, y'all deserve to feel special. Y'all deserve to root the Texans on. Like, not winning since 2021, I think it was around Christmas, like, that ain't flying from anybody in this building. I want them to know, like, we're flying our tails off every day to make sure y'all walk around with Texan gear pride. Y'all walk around with that swag that we walk around with when we get a dub. And for me, I take that real personal because I don't like being bagged on by my teams. Like, when my Lakers lose, I'll be pissed. So, like, I'll take that stuff real serious, man. And it's up to us to work every day and put the work in. And the Steelers fan came and they showed out today in our stadium, and we sent them home. And I think our fans felt the energy. Like, man, we ain't playing today, like, from the get go. So, I just want to say, man, like, we're gonna keep fighting every day just so y'all can walk around with that swag. I think that's huge, man, for this team. That's something that we want to keep building on. And it's a blessing to be able to be in Houston, like a great town with a lot of stuff to do, great people, Southern hospitality to its finest. And I'm falling in love with the city little by little. So it's a blessing.
And I think it's really important for a leader not to just be fake, but you put yourself in everyone's shoes. His offensive line's depleted. Maybe they're not capable of doing what you would in a perfect world like to do. So what do? You elevate your play. You elevate them. You talk good about them. Things aren't perfect for you. So you talk about how hard it is to be on the field. And then you have an understanding of the fans. You don't separate yourself. You don't become materialistic. You don't sit there and, say that I'm the one that plays in the fans. You have an understanding of the fans because you can put yourself in that place and you are grounded and stuff. And I thought that was interesting. And something else, the final money quote, just the fact that CJ Stroud has been better than I think any one of us could envisioned. One of his biggest flaws coming out of college, and this is something that he acknowledged. This is something that anyone at Ohio State really acknowledged as one of his weaknesses. And maybe it had to do with he didn't really have to do it as much. But CJ Stroud using his legs, and you can contribute to not being sacked. You can contribute to moving the chains. Should have had a touchdown, I thought, against Pittsburgh a couple of days ago, but for whatever reason, they reviewed it and said it wasn't there. But his feel of the pressure and ability to avoid that, his feel of when to tuck and run it, it's been elite. And that was his biggest knock coming into the league. And a lot of times these guys, they don't really improve their flaws. And if they do, it takes a long time. He's doing this at an elite level. He's doing this behind a depleted offensive line, and he's using his legs nicely, like at an elite level. And this was him after or heading into the season talking about the criticism that he had, and he could have easily just completely dismissed it, but CJ Stroud acknowledged it. And not only did he acknowledge it, he's put it into practice these first 4 games. And without that, I don't know how many games they win. The offensive line looks worse, but what was supposed to be a weakness is an elite strength.
I'll be honest. I told him like I'll tell y'all. I mean, I didn't do it a lot in college, and I feel like I should have, and it's something I do regret. I feel like I could have done it a lot more, but I think if you turn on the film, you really watch what I do, and you really look at film game to game, I have used my athleticism, not only just in the Georgia game, where I did it a lot. I've done it in every other game. I've had tough 3rd down runs. I've had tough 4th down runs. But it is times where I didn't run the ball, or maybe I should have. And I feel like that's something that I learned, and that's what football is about, man. It's about stepping back up to the plate and going back and working hard and fixing those problems. So that's something that I plan to fix. And I'll show my pro day. I'll show my athletics. I'll show my availability to escape pressure. And I've done it before on film, but since people don't think I can do it, I'm going to do it again.
And he did. And he's done it at a historic level, 4 games in. Again, historic 4 games, 5 money quotes. Appreciate you for coming through. Subscribe, like, right along. Going to have the highlight showdown. Special guest on In the Loop straight off the practice field coming up on Thursday. Post-game show immediately after the game on Sunday. Daily content throughout. I know that it's getting to be a lot more crowded space, but we've been here since the start of last year. As soon as I was allowed to make this channel's going, and we're going real strong. This is the place to come to get the pulse of what's going on with the Houston Texans. Please subscribe, like, right along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top.